Holly Weirdos. Welcome to another spooky yet delicious and now nostalgic episode of Holly Weird Paranormal Podcast. We did take a little bit of a break, but don't worry, we're back at it because we miss you very mucho. And we're taking a quick dive into the history and even eerie ghost stories of Rancho Los Amigos in Downey, California. If you grew up in Los Angeles or lived here long enough, then you know. Yep, we're talking about that abandoned hospital with a rich past from its days as an agricultural estate to becoming a mental health facility with ghost stories to match. And trust us, we cover quite a bit. Now, there's also going to be some added middle school nostalgia here, so also bear with us. Trust me, it's going to be a very interesting, funny, yet spooky ride. But who hasn't driven past and wondered about those old buildings? I'm sure some of you guys have driven past this place, may have trespassed, maybe like myself, but we'll also cover that as well. But before you go exploring, here's a friendly reminder. Don't trespass. It's dangerous. And well, the ghosts probably don't want you around either. Yeah. So stick with us as we uncover the history and the hauntings of this famous spot. Let's get Holly Weird in Downey, California, as we talk about the Ranchos Los Amigos. Hello, friends, you weirdos. I know. Fancy seeing you guys here, or having you guys hear us here. How is everybody doing, Bryce? How are you doing? It's been a while.
Been a little while, yes. I can't believe that we're like halfway through March somehow.
I know. Everybody's
It
like, where the
doesn't
hell have you
seem
guys been?
real. I know. The world isn't, the world's in chaos, so we're busy.
It has been in limbo.
Yeah.
It is a little scary out there. Like I said, the living always scare me more than the dead. Yes. Politics scare me even more. But we're not going to talk about that.
No, this is not a political podcast.
No, we're not going to make
as hard as I try.
I know. As much as I want this to be a bad dream, we're not gonna go there right now.
No,
because we're gonna be a little spooky and weird and funny.
Sometimes
we're gonna have some
take a little breaks.
Yeah, seriously.
We all need the dopamine,
We do. What gives us dopamine? Talking about Los Angeles ghosts, talking about abandoned hospitals, which we will be doing on today's podcast, and having a gab, having a big spooky gab, guys. I know. So whatever Bryce was going through last year rubbed off on me this past February, which is why we didn't come up with any episodes, because certain individuals at my job made things harder on my schedule. We just talked about it. The simplest of tasks was not fulfilled, which landed on the backs of myself and other workers. So yeah.
That part. And if anyone is like making your job more difficult, they're immediately like enemy number one. I don't even care what the reason is. There's never a good reason. I'm just like, don't make my job harder.
Right?
Because there's the stress. Our jobs all have stress. Like that's just part of it. But if it's because of someone's actions that they don't need to be doing and like their neglect, murdered. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I felt that way after February. I was like, as my microphone falls down, I'm like,
metaphor.
Going through the PTSD of it. Sorry, guys. I know, running into my mic. Yeah, so that's what happened to me. It felt like I was going through a major episode, going through the trenches. But no, we're seeing the light. We're in March, and before you fart and blink, we'll be in the summer, right?
Girl.
We'll be in Chicago.
That's true. Yes, I'm excited.
We're going to be haunted by much food in Chicago, by Chicago deep dish. Bryce, we got to go have a Chicago deep dish.
God.
Now, what are you guys talking about?
There is a place out here that does do like Chicago style deep dish, and it is pretty good, I will say. LA is not really like a pizza town.
Agreed.
Which is sad in and of itself. I don't know why that is the one food that doesn't really like catch on here. But there is one place, but it's just not the same.
I know. We're a town of burritos, tortas, tacos,
and it's like
chilaquiles.
The best, any kind of like street food that you have here, it's like the best food you've ever had. And they're like doing it out of a cooler. And you're like, why is this so good? Like, yeah, it's give and take for sure.
It really is.
Then I get like any kind of Hispanic food back home and I'm like, what the fuck is this? No, I don't like that. No, thank you.
So I'm sure you guys are like wondering, what are we talking about with Chicago and Chicago deep dish? Well, we made it very clear that in past episodes, we're going to be a part of a little Paracon, a big event that's happening in Chicago, because Chicago is also a very haunted city. Illinois is just a very haunted state, but our friends over at Windy City Parafest are hosting the first annual Windy City Paranormal Convention in Chicago, Illinois from June the 13th through the 15th. And you can find tickets and more information on their website at windycityfest.com. And myself and Bryce will be there in attendance along with our friends Intuitive Tawny, Ken Boggle, Zachariah the Witch, our friends over at Quite Unusual Podcasts and What's Up Weirdo, and many, many others. And those who we've, definitely gone back and forth with online. All of our listeners, our followers, quite a few of you guys are going, and we're excited to see you guys, to actually witness Bryce possibly doing a power walk, maybe a fast power walk through a cemetery tour before 6 o'clock.
I was like, where's this going?
I know Frankie and I are like, wouldn't it be funny to bring Bryce on a cemetery tour? What if it was after 6? Let's be nice to him. Let's make it before 6 o'clock.
I was say, look, here's the thing, is that the actual thing that will end up happening is that I'll just fall asleep. I'm so tired all the time. Like, are you scared? No, I'm sleeping on this tombstone. It's fine. I don't care. Yeah.
I'm sleepwalking.
Whatever.
I'm sleepwalking. This is the safest thing I could do.
I'm very brave. It's fine. Although every once
sleep
in a while,
paralysis demon, who is she?
Yeah, I'm such a baby. I'm like a nearly 40-year-old man. Like, grow up. But I have like white curtains on my window, and like sometimes I'll like lay down and the moon is really bright. I'm like, oh my god, Nosferatu, he's gonna get me. Go to bed. What are you doing? Go to bed. No, he sees me, and I'm impossibly beautiful, just like Lily Rose Depp. Like, go to bed. You're fine.
I can see you getting out of bed in your little like nightgown and candlestick, waiting for Nosferatu to come to
send me an angel of comfort. Yeah. And you know what? Ironically, another similarity, her and I were both snubbed at the Oscars this year. So
really?
It's like, yeah, I know. There's just like so many similarities between us.
I know. You have the milky white skin.
Yeah,
and
clearly.
The hair, the luscious hair.
Yeah.
Yes. The doughy eyes.
So doughy.
The ability to walk around a place acting like you're waiting for an Uber.
Fair. That's on God. That one I actually do, yeah. Yes, so I will be walking through a cemetery. I have long legs. It's fine.
Mm-hmm. And you know how to power walk. You've done so in Hollywood when we've worked out of Hollywood before.
All gay people walk at a faster pace anyway, so like that's fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
so
to all of our straight listeners, all, I don't know, 4 of you, I assume. Look behind you. There's a gay person trying to get around you. I swear. I promise you. I promise you.
Yeah.
So just like step to the side. Let us go through.
Right. Do you guys do the whole thing like cyclists, like left?
No,
right?
I never would. I don't think I'd ever do that. But I do get very like, because here's the thing too. The actual, like, I'm big. Like, I'm a big guy. I'm like 6'2". So I'm not trying to like come up on someone and like be in their space. That's spooky. And especially if it's like a female presenting person, I don't want to. So like, I always try and like give people their space. And if it's at night, then I always try and like fake talk on the phone in like a super high voice to try and be like, hey girl, like I won't hurt you, I promise. Because it's scary. But also like if you're in my way, I'm just like, but you're also in my way. Like, I need you to move. No, the struggle.
Can I ask you one thing too? If you were to be approached by Nos, our friend, who would be Big Spoon and Little Spoon in this whole...
No, bye, goodbye. Podcast over. Well, he is like, I don't know, he's like 8 feet tall, so...
Right? He's like, I am an appetite. You're like, I have an appetite.
Oh, that's a
Let me bounce
line.
on this. Well, guys, as you've seen on the title of this... I know, they're like, done. End of the podcast episode. Sorry, guys. As you guys have noticed on the podcast episode's title, we're going to be talking about a little location in the beautiful and exotic city of Downey. Yes.
Yeah.
You want to talk about good Mexican food? Downey has some pretty good eats, dude.
Girl.
Yes.
Period. Yes.
For all you guys that are not too familiar with Downey, it's located southeast from downtown Los Angeles. And I mean, that place is also known for its haunt. It's haunted like a mother.
Yeah.
And one of the
crazy.
locations, that holds a lot of this haunted lore and history is a location that goes by the name of the Los Ranchos Amigos Poor Farm. So we're going to talk about its history. Bryce, are you very familiar with this location? Have you snuck in to this?
No. No.
You won't find me in an abandoned hospital in Downey. Definitely. Look, I was game for it almost 13 years ago, and I'll go into that very shortly. Very, very shortly, because a little show reached out to me and wanted to know if I had an experience there, and I did. Yes, I don't. Now, I want to preface that I don't condone like trespassing into places, but I was a very newbie little stylist in LA back in the day, and I had no idea what I was getting myself into in this location. So we'll get into it very shortly.
We all have, it's a learning curve.
It really is. All right, so let's get into the Los Ranchos Amigos. So Ranchos Los Amigos. I call it Los Ranchos. I don't know why. I'm sorry, guys. Ranchos Los Amigos is located in Downey, California, has a rich history that reflects the evolution of public health and social services in LA County. The establishment of this location was known as the County Poor Farm in 1888. So in 1888, the LA County established this County Poor Farm to provide housing, work, and medical care to more of the indigent population. The facility was situated on a 124.4 acre property with buildings designed by architect Jacob Friedlander and the firm Kaiser Morgan and Walls, known for their work on the notable Los Angeles structures like the Pico House and USC's Whitney Hall. So there is a connection there with other locations in LA. So it transitions into a medical facility by 1922 and had fully transitioned from the agricultural operations to focus more on medical care, reflecting the growing needs to treat chronic medical conditions among residents. And the facility's name was changed to Rancho Los Amigos to better represent its medical mission. So Rancho Los Amigos became renowned for its contributions to rehabilitation medicine. And in 1951, it was designed as a respiratory center for polio patients. And a lot of these patients were very young kids. I don't know if you're, familiar with the disease polio, but it's...
Well, we're about to all be very soon. That's right. You thought I wasn't going to be political. It was a trick. I'm back.
Yes, I know. I think we're all going to go through that. We're already going through the measles. So if you ever have researched or can Google like polio and what the patients had to go through during their rehabilitation, but it affects the lungs and airways. There were these humongous, I want to say oxygen chambers.
Those iron lungs, yeah.
Yes. And that's how they were treated.
Creepy.
Yeah, these chambers were the size of a small little submarine.
Have you seen those pictures where it's the room and they're all just lined up?
Exactly. It is insane. And you just see the heads of these little kids sticking out of these little chambers. And they had to be in those chambers for hours and days. It's crazy. And that's what they had situated there. And unfortunately, they had patients who passed away. A lot of these kids passed away due to polio. Now, leading to significant advancements in patient care, there was one particular doctor in 1955, a Dr. Vernon Nickel, who developed the Halo vest at Rancho Los Amigos, a device still used today to immobilize the cervical spine following severe neck injuries and surgeries. So something really big came out of there in the medical sciences. Now, let's go into the historic South Campus, RIP. It no longer exists. We'll get into that very soon. But this was a 74-acre historic campus that developed between 1907 to 2. It was vacated and boarded up in 1988. Over time, it did deteriorate due to weather, vandalism, and arson. And in October of 2021, the Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors approved the demolition of the 103 vacant buildings in this historic district, despite concerns raised by preservationists about the loss of early Los Angeles history. So a great group of these buildings were demolished a couple years ago, and it was a big, big loss. Today, Rancho Los Amigos National Rehabilitation Center continues to operate as a leading medical facility specializing in rehabilitation and serving patients from around the world. So there is like another facility, I want to say like a stone throw away from where the former South Campus is located. And it's like you see the newer buildings right across the street from where the South Campus was originally located. Now, with a place this historical comes with paranormal accounts. Okay, so this is where it gets a little interesting. So Ranchos has long been a subject of local lore and paranormal speculation, as it was established in the late 1800s. Being served as a refuge towards many, especially the mentally challenged, elderly, and ill. Now, over time, the facility expanded and parts of it were eventually abandoned, as I mentioned before, leading to various accounts of alleged hauntings. Commonly reported activities are apparitions, physical interactions, and unexplained sounds. So, unexpected visitors, those who trespass like myself in the past.
No, not to name names, but...
I know, not to name names. Me.
It was me.
Visitors have reported sightings of a shadowy figure, or many shadowy figures, and unexplained movements within the abandoned structures. One in particular being of a doctor. We'll get into that story pretty soon. Physical interactions from those who have ventured into this property, like urban explorers, claim to have experienced physical sensations such as scratches or touches without any apparent cause. And unexplained sounds are pretty much sounds like disembodied voices, footsteps, and other mysterious noises echoing through the deserted halls of what once was the South Campus and other locations outside. Now, why are these occurrences happening? Now, there are a lot of notable incidents that occurred here, all right? First off was the discovery of preserved specimens. So in 2006, workers found jars containing human body parts preserved in formaldehyde within the abandoned hospital buildings. While officials stated that there was no foul play, the discovery added to the site's eerie reputation. I know.
Well, body parts just don't happen into jars, officials.
I know, they don't find their way into formaldehyde jars. I don't know how old these jars were, but the thing is about this place is there were a lot of rodents, there were a lot of cats, there were a lot of transients and homeless people living out of here. And I even read stories that people found like chickens that were beheaded and animal parts. Like people were trying to do rituals here. There were like Ouija boards and pentagrams.
Panic, yeah.
I know. You know, leave it to the public to do things like this. There were also deaths on the property. Over its years of operation, many residents passed away on the property. However, the exact number of deaths and burials that occurred there is not definitive. So we go into the burial practices and cemetery records because there is a cemetery on the property. The facility maintained an on-site cemetery, often referred to as the Los Angeles County Farm Cemetery. And this burial ground was primarily used for residents who had no known family or financial means for private internment. So while precise records are scarce, some information may be available. So there was a challenge to determine the exact number of how many people passed and how many were actually buried on the property. So there are several factors, incomplete records. So over the decades, especially the early years, record keeping may have been inconsistent or lost to various reasons, including administrative changes and the passage of time. Some of this could have been brought on by the Great Flood of 1914. And for some of you that may or may not be too familiar with this natural disaster, this was the Los Angeles Flood of 1914. That was one of the most devastating occurrences in our city. It occurred between January and it went through February of 1914. Torrential storms overwhelmed the city of Los Angeles and its surrounding counties. Bridges, roads, and railways were destroyed, cutting off transportation routes and causing widespread damage to homes and businesses. Plus, it cost the lives of thousands of Angelenos, some of which could not, like their bodies couldn't be found. They were just, swept away by the floods. Yeah. Unmarked graves. There were financial constraints, and the social status of many residents likely led to numerous unmarked graves, making it challenging to account for all burials. Property changes, the evolution of the facility and its grounds over more than a century, including periods of abandonment and redevelopment, may have further obscured burial sites and records. So in summary, while Rancho Los Amigos undoubtedly witnessed numerous deaths and burials throughout its operation, the exact figures remain undetermined due to the incomplete documentation and other historical factors. So this is something too that I noticed happened with this one little cemetery around the corner from me, the Pioneer Cemetery in Sylmar. There's a lot of unmarked graves, a lot of damaged gravestones because vandalism was a thing there too during the 90s and early 2000s. People breaking in and doing weird things there that they shouldn't be doing. We can't have nice things and spooky things.
I get it. We all wanted to be in the craft. Like, it's fine. But, like, come on now. Come on now.
We're trying to call the four corners.
Yes.
That's all we wanted to do.
That scene where they're like walking slow-mo through the hallway.
Please tell me that you were trying to reenact that back in your day. Like, I guess the middle school Bryce probably putting on a cape.
Opposite. It was fully grown me because I was not allowed to watch anything that like even resembled witchcraft because we believed that like it's real. So like I didn't watch any of like the 90s. I was in witch craze, like Buffy and The Craft and Charmed. All of that I came to much later in life. So it's like me at 37 reenacting it now. Yeah.
Yes. Have you ever seen the show Pen 15?
Y'all got obsessed. I love that show.
Have you seen that episode? Yeah.
Yes.
Have you watched The Craft?
It's so accurate. It's so good.
Because I was them and they's was me.
So many girls in my middle school too. Yeah.
We were all wearing black lipstick, jewelry from Hot Topic, and trying to cut our like black clothes to make it look kind of punk rock. And yeah, if you guys haven't seen this show, you have to. It is brilliant.
It's the most accurate portrayal of what it's like to be in middle school in the 2000s. Like it's so correct.
I was like, this is my biography. Yeah, so you have to watch the show. I think it's on Hulu. It went for 2 or 3 seasons. It was so good.
No, it actually is one of my favorite like endings ever. I love the ending of like them dancing on that little VHS tape.
Yeah.
I just think it's such a good like, more stories about like beautiful female friendships that are complicated and messy and crazy.
It is.
I love it.
The G-string episode.
Also, Emily, my roommate and I talk about this all the time where it's like, why? Like, if someone now was like, you're a slut, I'd be like, yeah, bitch, I know.
Yes.
But if someone called you a slut, and I was a boy, so it was even less, like, they were just calling me the F word and like, fine, whatever. But if you got called a slut, it was like the end of your life. Like,
it was.
Hey, everyone thinks I'm a slut. Like, okay.
Yeah, they think I was a slut. I'm a slut because I made out with Bobby underneath the staircase at school.
Like, you held hands. Like, okay,
I held hands. Guys, it's serious. We're holding hands.
Yeah.
We've been holding hands for the past 2 days. I don't know how to feel about this. You know, we're already talking about kids. Here we are. We're going out.
Girlfriend that you never speak to. Yeah.
Remember how, like, I don't know if this went, like, if you did this in middle school, but, like, there's that thing of, like, going out. Like, it was this representation that you were involved with this boy. You weren't technically really going out, but you guys, it was just like a justification that you two were official.
Yeah. But you never talked to each other. You never hung out. You never like, yeah.
We just talked to each other on the phone, maybe met up one of the weekends in the month. When you tell my mom, like, Mom, I have a boyfriend, we're going out. She's like, where?
It's so serious. It's to the movies. When you drop us off there, thank you, Mom.
We're going to go see the Titanic. You got to drop us off here at 5 p.m. Like, yes. Movie phone told me there's only 2 show times. 5 and 8. Real. I know, me trying to talk through my retainer.
Yeah. Yeah, I went and saw Titanic. That was one of my first. I had to like beg my parents because like I was in 5th grade and they were like, well, you have to promise that you're going to close your eyes during the sex scene because like we're Christians. And I did not, but also like, man, were their fears not founded? Because like, okay, even then I was like, that's a naked woman. That's really not doing that much for me. Okay, carry on.
Right?
Yeah.
My God, my parents had to ask neighbors, like, is this a good movie for them to watch? Tammy, can you just watch the PG movie?
It was a
I
cultural
know.
phenomenon. They
It
were
was.
losing that fight no matter what.
All right, let's get back on track.
Deep tangent, The Craft.
We're having a little nostalgic moment. You guys can relate. Let us know in the comments. Let us know
your
via
favorite
email.
character from The Craft.
I know. All right, let's take a look at these ghost stories. So this was one I found on Reddit. This was really interesting because it's in reference to the doctor apparition. So according to this Reddit user, he goes on to state, I saw the doctor in the mirror in one of the bathrooms. It was not in the main building. It was in one of the dorms, I think. It was one of the similar buildings. I saw that when I was like 15 years old and he was wearing a lab coat. He had a stethoscope and he was old with white hair. Also, I don't know if this is still off limits, but it was when I went there years ago and I almost got arrested because that happened. The cops being arrested in that place is another scary thing. Because as we got closer to like the mid 2000s, late 2000s, like they really heightened the police presence around there.
Yeah.
Also, there's a stove in the doorway on the second floor of building 127. I touched that stove and everything went red. All I saw was red, and my friend happened to take a picture of me while I was touching the stove, and I was outlined in red in the picture. The picture was lost with, brace yourself, MySpace when they shut down. MySpace tells you the timeline of their experience.
God bless MySpace. Bring back MySpace.
Another story from another Reddit user goes on to state, we trespassed here many years ago. I was a dumb teen, but when we made our way into one of the buildings, I noticed that there was a Ouija board in the middle of one of the rooms, followed by headless chickens on the ground. We kind of freaked out and were debating, do we stay or do we go? And all of a sudden we heard what sounded like a door slam, and that was it for all of us. We bolted out of there so fast that we actually ran into a cop who almost arrested us on the spot. And we told him no, that there was someone in the building. He went in there. We waited outside and he came out and said, go home. There's no one in there. Next time I catch you, I will arrest you for trespassing. And that was it. So yeah, I'm sure this place is haunted, but I'm sure also because of the many urban explorers and people who went there with curiosities and because of probably watching a few horror films, that they tried to summon something and maybe they were successful at doing that.
That's crazy.
I know. I had a little bit of an experience there.
Yeah.
And a little show had reached out to me about my experiences, about adventures with ghosts. Because let's see, I moved to LA in 2009, and this experience happened I want to say almost 13 years ago in 2012, I want to say. So it was like around 2012. This is when I was still styling. I was working with a lot of stylists in the doing the red carpet looks. And I also had a lot of photographer friends who would always hit me up like, hey, can you help costume a photo shoot I'm doing? And I was always up for it because I, wanted to build my portfolio. Also, this was the time of Model Mayhem. So if you guys remember that site, I had an account and, a portfolio.
Iconic.
Model and Mayhem was like the MySpace of models, photographers, and stylists. Like if you were in the industry, that's how you found people to work with. And I found a lot of interesting people. And a lot of them I'm still not friends with. So there you go. But there's this one photographer who, I became really good friends with. We lost touch a while ago. He ended up moving to Virginia and he's doing more of landscape photography. Nature photography.
Yeah.
Do your thing with birds and not models. I get it. So he reached out to me one night. He's like, hey, do you want to come with me tomorrow afternoon to a abandoned hospital? And I was like, what? I was like, okay, I'm kind of game. He's like, oh, have you heard of this location? It's the Rancho Los Amigos. And I said, no, I was still a newbie to LA. Right. I really wasn't involved in the paranormal community at this time. I was mainly involved in the styling and entertainment. And he was like, yeah, I want to do a photo shoot, something that's Mad Max, dystopian. And I think this place might be it. And I said, perfect. He's like, I'll come by and pick you up. So the next day, he picked me up. We drove to what seemed like for me a century because of traffic. And we were greeted by like this monstrosity of structures that looked dilapidated and decayed. And I'm like, wow, this is pretty intimidating. And of course, it was blocked off by a metal fence. And so he got out of the car. I was like, are we meeting someone here? Like, is someone gonna let us in? He's like, no, we're gonna go in. I'm like, wait, what? I was like, okay, I'm here for the ride. So we made our way through what looked like a official entrance into the property. Yeah, I was like, oh, okay. So it was just that easy. And I think at that time, like, there wasn't a heavy police presence.
Right.
So we made our way on the property, and I cannot tell you where we were. I was just like, kind of like, just shocked at like how
there's
large
so much to take in.
It was so much. And I was like trying to see where I was walking because there's a lot of trash. And I noticed like, oh, there's a freaking skunk. There's fucking critters here. Great. We just made our way into a building and we were walking down the hallway, and I just remember it smelling like cats and like it just smelled like piss. And also cat food. There were like plates of cat food in certain locations because he was telling me, oh yeah, people come in and feed the cats and critters. I was like, oh great. So it's inhabited by animals and possible, transients, because it looked like also like, it kind of looked like people were living there. Like there were cans of food. There was like some remnants that like there was some life there. You know what I mean? We walked into a room, and the room it looked like a classroom at one point. Like there were these small tables that were scattered all over the place because it was so dilapidated. And I was a little scared. I'm like, are we going to fall through this fucking floor? And he was telling me about this location. I'm like, what was this place? Was this like a little city? Like I'm getting the feeling that this was a compound of some sort. He was like, oh, this was a poor farm, and then it turned into a hospital. And this is where they treated, polio patients. So a lot of them were kids. So it makes sense that this was probably a classroom. So he's telling me about this history, and we hear something outside, and it sounded like footsteps. And we stopped. We looked at each other, and I'm just thinking, like, there has to be somebody outside.
Yeah, like a security guard or somebody.
Something. Yeah. And I got a little scared. I'm like, what if it's like, because the living always scare the shit out of me more than the dead. And then we kind of like tried to ignore it, but it happened again. And it sounded like it was coming inside the room. And this time it sounded very familiar. Like, I don't know, like it had a certain weight to it. And it just kind of reminded me of my niece and nephew, who were at the time 7 and 10. When we would, when I would go visit them in New Orleans, like, and we'd play hide and go seek, I would always hear the pitter patter of their feet because they were always hiding. And it reminded me of that. I'm like, that sounds kind of like a child, but it could be, I was just like, no. It could possibly be, a rodent or maybe someone who broke in. So he goes out and plays detective. I'm like, don't leave me alone in this room. He goes out and no one's there. No one is to be found. And we just immediately left, and we made our way outside, and we walked into another building, and it just felt like I can't tell you where this building was, but it seemed like the deeper we were getting into this property, the feeling of dread came about us. Like it was a heavy feeling. And I was feeling very, very sad. Like I was grieving almost. And I was like, okay, I'm ready to leave. Like, I'm getting really tired. I feel a bit drained. Like, it just left kind of like this weird ickiness. Maybe because I'm inhaling the mold, the asbestos.
Yes.
I don't know. I'm getting high, and it's not off of Kush, it's the asbestos.
Yeah.
So we left, and whatever was there, like whatever I carried from there, like lingered for 2 days. Like, I just felt like very drained, very, very drained. And learning a little more within time about what happened there and the people who passed, I'm like, it makes a lot of sense. And that was like pretty much my experience. And like 13 years later, I go back there, and you just kind of feel it again. Like it was weird. Like that's all I could say. Like it just felt nostalgic and weird.
That's so crazy. That
Yeah.
was like affecting you for such a long time
Yeah.
afterward.
And I've had things like that happen to me when I've gone to certain places. Like I remember feeling that way when I left Waverly Hills, Whispers Estate. Like it was like I was grieving.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it was the weirdest feeling. And I know that, many people have had, those types of emotions and feelings going in there. Even reading other accounts, there was one girl who mentioned, like, I remember going into one of the buildings in the South Campus, and she said that she started crying out of nowhere. So, I mean, places can really affect one's emotions, especially for, what was absorbed there. I'm sure there was a lot of loss, a lot of hardships, and that is something that could be absorbed in the earth and in the wood there. Yeah. Yeah. So I guess
At
the moral of the story is... Huh?
Sorry. At the time when you like first went there, would you have like, because now you're like more, you're like pursuing the science and like you're in tune with like your process now. At the time, were you like as sensitive? Did you like know what was happening? Now, like you go and you're like, well, this is like my process and I know like what I'm feeling and I trust my body and all those things that we've talked about.
Absolutely. I couldn't reconcile it because at that time I wasn't in that mindset, you know, like the same mindset that I was in. I didn't know how to process. I think that was the thing. Like I've had experiences growing up in New Orleans where I felt like there's something here. And that's what I felt too, going into that other building. It was a feeling like there are people there. Like, I don't know how to explain it. Not the transients. Like, it just felt like people were there.
Yeah.
I don't know how to put it. I think that's the best way to describe it. Like, it felt like there's something there still. And it's really sad because they tore down all of that South Campus. And it's like all those people that were buried there, who worked there, who possibly passed there, they're going to be forgotten. And that's so sad to think about. Yeah. And, I just thought maybe I got worried, like, probably I got like sick from the mold or something.
Right. Which like never.
I mean, it was really bad. So cautionary note, it's essential to approach such sites like this with caution and of course respect. Yeah. Like I didn't know what I was getting myself into.
Right.
Many abandoned structures are unsafe and trespassing is definitely illegal, guys. Always seek proper permissions and prioritize safety when exploring or, investigating reputable haunted locations. While the tales of the hauntings at Rancho Los Amigos are intriguing, they remain part of local folklore with experiences varying among individuals. And there are still structures there from what I visited while shooting. And it was very dangerous. Like they had someone go into the building and the guy gave us a heads up. He was like, I need to make a serious announcement, guys. When you go in, please, if you have your phone, turn it on silent, put on your flashlights, really watch where you're walking because you can step on a hole or go through the floor.
Yeah.
There was oil on the floor of this building and it reeked. And I mean, like, it's a little scary in terms of like how dangerous it is. And it has been documented, guys. It's been showcased in many articles that people have died going into and trespassing into places like this that are very dilapidated and decayed. And
no, it's not worth it.
You don't want to be, one of those statistics. So
yeah, and you don't want to like be pursuing the answers to what happens so fervently that you then like pass on to the next life. Like, it's not worth it. It's just not. Yeah, exactly. Like, no, it's not worth it. You've got to like prioritize respect and safety, and yeah, that's tough.
Yeah, it's really tough. And
I get it. Like we all, not me because I'm scared, but we all want like that experience and those stories and like the answers. Like I totally get that, but we can't like do that at the cost of like our safety.
Yeah. And I was young and I was stupid, like I mentioned before.
The industry was different too. Like
yeah,
when we talk about like 2010s, like well, it wasn't that long ago. And like, yeah, it wasn't. But the culture around like paranormal was very different. I think it's slowly getting better as we get less of like ghostbustery punching door down, like hyper masculine bullshit, frankly. Mm-hmm. And we're moving into like more based on the land, based on the history, based on like the cultures that we are exploring.
Yes.
And respect for those things. It's slow, but it's getting better. It was a different time, and it was like, yeah, just like trespass.
I know it wasn't my finest moment, but yeah. I mean, I was taking risks back in the day, especially with what I was doing in styling. I wanted to be bold, and I highly wouldn't recommend it. But
there are many things that I also was like, we're like finding a location to shoot. And I was like, one time we shot, it was so insane. We were like doing this photo shoot, and it was like a dirty mattress in like underground of a parking garage, like just off Hollywood Boulevard. Why are we touching that?
I could feel the staph infection already just by looking at it.
Like, don't touch that. But we were like, yeah, we're here, we're acting, we're like feeling it would be like to be strung out on drugs. Like, you're from Ohio, you're fine. Dude, go home.
Calm down. Yeah. You get strained off of 2 tablets of aspirin, Bryce. Like, calm down.
I took 3 today because I was hungover from. I haven't been hungover. I know. I have not been hungover in like a minute, but it was my friend's birthday, and they had a like Traders themed birthday party.
That is adorable.
It was fun, yeah.
What did you dress up as?
I went...
The newsletter? The flyer?
Could you imagine? I wish I just something that cool. I went very much for the like, what's Zac Efron's brother? The very like sport coat and like clean cut. Because I was thinking if I look like a good little church boy, people won't vote for me, but they still voted me out like right away. Those little bitches.
You want to know the most haunted thing that is connected to Trader Joe's?
Or
is their parking lots.
Oh God, period. Yeah.
If you want to have a haunting experience, guys, go to a Trader Joe's parking lot. One in Studio City, La Brea, and the one in Silver Lake.
The worst.
Yeah, Silver Lake. You're going to see some demonic Karens in some Subarus over there in Priuses.
It's bad. It's pretty bad.
It is bad. That's a scary experience. I know.
Blessed.
I go there with Palo Santo and some holy water,
yes,
and a spray bottle, just spraying the Priuses, the Teslas that are coming in and out there, right? But so there are parts of the Rancho Los Amigos that are still there in its structures. I posted pictures of it on our stories, and I'll definitely repost again when this podcast is released. But I mean, the mystique surrounding the Rancho Los Amigos has definitely attracted many urban explorers, paranormal investigators, enthusiasts, and, even myself at that time, thrill seekers. Photographs and personal accounts from these visits are they're circulated online, further cementing its status as a haunted location. So for any of you guys that are listening, have you visited the Rancho Los Amigos? Let us know in the comments of our Instagram. We'll be posting about this episode, or message us at hollyweirdparanormal@gmail.com. We want to hear your stories. We're still trying to gather stories for our listeners' tales. We haven't been brewing one up lately, but we've been wanting more ghost stories. We've had a couple, but not enough to do an episode. So if you sent us a ghost story in the past, we have it in our files. We just need more to complement it, for sure. But that is our episode of the Ranchos Los Amigos in Downey, California. That will be making its way on a specific television show on the Travel Channel. So definitely look out for that. Maybe I'll be a part of it. Maybe not. Maybe they'll edit me out. I don't know.
It's not always the way that you're just like, okay, fingers crossed.
I know they were trying to do the whole did you experience something evil? I'm like, no. I mean, I'm sure there is a negativity there of what was possibly summoned. You also have something dark. When there's something good, there's something bad that kind of follows it. There's a yin and yang right there, a high and a low vibration. So who knows, And, with the people going in and out of there in the past, a lot of thrill seekers, teenagers with Ouija boards, and other enthusiasts, they have definitely exacerbated that location. We've talked about this time and time again. Yeah. So who knows? An egregore. Yeah, Tulpa, who knows what they've summoned. So,
Brutal.
I know. Well, guys, thank you for listening to this episode. Like I said, message us if you've ever visited, had a weird experience. And be sure to follow us on all of our social medias on Instagram at hollyweirdparanormal. You can email us at hollyweirdparanormal on Gmail. And also follow us on Threads. We're there, and on Facebook at hollyweirdparanormal. And you can follow me on TikTok. I'm at Haunted LA Girl. Bryce, are you on TikTok? Do you do the TikToks?
Yes, I technically am on TikTok, but I'm just like a lurker.
You're a lurker, but people can definitely follow you on Instagram at
the Smirking Estia.
Yes, guys, the Smirking Assassin. And you can stalk us on our website, hollyweirdparanormal.com. And if you have a little more paper, some dime, come and see us out in Chicago, Illinois, June 13th through the 15th. I know, at Windy City Parafest. Once again, for more information about Windy City Parafest, go visit them at windycityparafest.com to learn more about the event, the people that will be there, who run it, and also the haunts. It's going to be really, really interesting and super spooky. And plus, they have a paranormal prom.
Cute.
Have you gone dress shopping, Bryce?
No, I haven't. I'll find something. It will have puffy sleeves for sure.
Okay, wonderful.
And I'll perm my hair.
I'm going to see if I could dress up as Nosferatu.
Yeah, my God, could you imagine?
Be the little spoon to the big spoon. There you go.
Yeah, that's right.
Also, if you want to help support the podcast, please do so by traveling over to our Patreon, which is patreon.com/HollyWeirdParanormal. There you'll learn a little more about what you'll get in return, such as extra audio, extra ghost stories through our secret podcast, Saturday Night Ghost Club, and other bonus clips. See Bryce in action doing the Estes method.
Well, yeah.
In the Queen Mary.
Ugh, that was a tough
Within
video.
the R deck. Yeah, the rope hold. Yes, that was interesting.
Yeah, that was, I don't know if I did a very good job, but it was interesting.
And there's so much more there, guys. For as little as $1 or more per month, you'll help support the podcast. It goes to our coffee intake and to help upkeep with, certain programs that we use and equipment. So little does go a long way. We thank all of you for joining and who have donated in the past. You can cancel whenever you want. But like I said, a little does go a long way, and we do appreciate each and every one of you who have supported us. So thank you. Muchos thanks to you guys. All right, everyone. We hope that you all have a wonderful week, day, month, hour, minute. Take care of yourselves. It's a really, it's a very different vibe right now. It's a little scary out there. Just make sure you're taking care of your mental faculties. Trust me.
Community is our greatest weapon,
Yes, guys. Let's make a big effort in this community. Let's not make it too political. Let's just make it fun, spooky, and a bit of an escape.
No.
I know Bryce is like, I am biting my tongue. Yes, but
Ish. I don't bite it that much, frankly.
we could make some comments that are adjacent to the political weather, just saying. But yes, we hope that you guys are taking care of yourselves and each other. Always remember to stay weird, but most of all, stay Holly weird. Bryce, do you have anything else you would like to say?
Bye.
Bye, guys. And we'll definitely see you next time. Take care.